at, I do think that it could possibly go that way as well. And it looks like we are officially live, and we're going to be taking a view through cha1n's vision here to start off. And, you know, on the exit there, he actually took a rail right away coming out from cypher. So it's going to be a quick way to fire up the match, kind of firing from behind. But as both players kind of move into the mega room, surprise around the corner. And unfortunately, grapple is not going to get you out of that one, as cha1n is covered in acid and he melts, giving cypher the first frag on the board.
Yeah, good play from cypher, good rail as well, as Athena's already been on point at the start. You saw earlier, but just hiding around that corner, even as Sorlag, he made sure that he couldn't be seen as the character model wasn't sticking out, so it means that he could just go straight through and take cha1n off guard. But cypher now massively stacked, just going to push top middle, no problem here, and the mega is coming up in the next 6 seconds, so cypher's going to try and challenge it, but cha1n knows he can't contest it anymore. He needs to try and back away if he can. A tickle of damage there with the LG, as cypher's going to get that top mid control to see if he can flank round, but he's already caught him again. There should be another frag. Sadly, he didn't actually pick him apart, but that rail so close. As cha1n is going to go around, he's pushed top mid, kept cypher back, but needs to be careful here.
Yeah, and I mean, already we've seen grapple from Athena come out for escapes, and hold on, we've got cypher starting things up with the LG, getting the grill hot and finishing it up with a rocket, getting the second frag of the game. In comes cha1n though, and they're, you know, we've now seen polarizing aspects of cha1n playing Athena. Tried to use the grapple for escape, didn't work out in that first frag, but right there off the spawn, quick movement, able to get to cypher very quickly and then clean him up. So we're starting to see the ways that cha1n kind of wants to use Athena. I think the one thing got to be careful about, as we've also seen, is that you've got to be careful moving into a champion like Sorlag, right? Getting just blasted with a face full of asthma. There we see another great usage of it from cypher's perspective. Grapple up, grapple back down, firing those rockets, and we got ourselves a tie game.
Already cypher, good rail, is shot again, 2 for 2. He's going to go for the third, but he's hoping to clean him up with that shotgun. Sadly for him, didn't do enough damage. But you're right though, even with cha1n, he needs to be careful when he does get that frag. It needs to be as clean as possible, because the trade potential for cypher is huge in comparison. But the fight for top mid control is on. It's cypher is going to be the first to push in, but cha1n has kept him back a little bit with the rockets, but he's all there just waiting for cypher to peek so he can finish him off with the rail. Oh, just barely misses there, but he isn't railable himself, but he is after that first rail through the telly from cypher. But cha1n has managed to restack, may be able to get this mega coming up in the next couple of seconds. And it looks like cypher also realizes that it's just a little bit too late.
Yeah, there's some definitely risky grapples, and cha1n definitely someone who likes to gamble in the Quake arena for sure. But it's been working out so far. Cypher actually with the lesser stack right now, and cha1n just waiting, looking for those opportunities. And I like he's really mixed it up. He's playing that long-range game, the mid-range game, and even though it's pretty risky, he's also gotten some close-range game going on here. And as we're still pretty early in this matchup, the rails are definitely flying right now. Both players, so cypher with a little bit better rail accuracy at 50% as he lands another one there. And this tie game kind of slow down a little bit, Lethal, and I'm not really surprised by that. A lot of positioning, a lot of long-range power plays to try to open things up. There we see a jump to the top, spit comes out, and cha1n with the confidence goes ahead and melts down cypher. Cypher off the spawn, trying to get a quick frag. It is not going to happen, and cha1n suddenly picks up a quick 2.
Yeah, beautiful stuff from cha1n. You've seen his game plan. He's just trying to make sure that even though cypher does have a much bigger stack, just constantly keeping him back with the rockets, with the predicted rockets, just trying to keep him back with the tri-bolt, do everything he can to make sure that if cypher does progress into him, then he will take a huge amount of damage in the process before the combat starts. But now though, cha1n, a huge stack of his own, definitely take advantage of this if he wants. Still halfway through the game, still got a lot of time to waste, and all those rockets cypher had nowhere to go. But you can see cypher is trying to force out these plays. He's trying to speed up the game as much as he can and just increase the pace. But the problem is cha1n with the tri-bolt and the defensive rockets just not giving him that chance. Cypher's always taken a huge chunk of damage before the engagement starts, and it's just not working in his favor.
Yep. You know, this cha1n that we're seeing now is more akin to what we saw in the most previous finals, you know, stage finals, than what we saw during the regular season. And that's good, right? A lot of players dedicated the last 2-3 weeks to really refining their game, sharpening their own skills. And I think that's very apparent right here. cha1n has traditionally performed pretty well in these types of events. And you know, you can't necessarily look at the regular season and say, well, this is how that person is going to perform. Instead, you know, we are seeing some great play come out here from cha1n. Good reads, solid aggression, good defense as well. And cypher seems to be struggling a little bit here in this matchup.
Yeah, he certainly is indeed. He's just trying to force the situation and trying to increase the pace of the game. It's completely understandable. Good direct there from cha1n. As sadly for him, doesn't get the chance to clean up. cha1n does get the mega though, so it all worked out for him nicely in the process. But cha1n is just standing his ground, waiting for that head. He manages to pick it up. Good LG from cha1n. He's going to be on the chase to see if he can stop him from going top mid, but that rail's going to make matters so much worse for the cypher here. Cypher's just trying to restack in any way he can. cha1n already knows where it could be. Important rail there just to keep cypher at bay. Good second rail. Will he go for the third? If he goes across, this is going to be a great flank from cha1n, but cypher predicted him going that way, but I don't think it's going to be enough as cha1n finally takes him down, but cypher really made him work for it. As you can see there, the starting stack from cypher is going to help so much, as well as that mega, and cypher's just trying to do his absolute best to keep this game as close as possible in these dying minutes.
I mean, in the last, 5 minutes, cha1n has clearly been the one with control of the map, setting the tempo, setting the pace. And I'm very curious to see now with cypher picking up that frag, if he's able to kind of shift momentum in his direction. I think one of the key elements to cha1n's success so far here is that he has been hitting his rails. I mean, well, he's now up to about a 47% rail, but he's hitting them when they really count, either to score a frag or to really start to chew up that initial stack so that he can move in and get a bit more aggressive, get more up close and personal. But 3 frags separating these two. Still plenty of time with about 2.5 minutes left to go. cha1n might shift to a more defensive role here as cypher with 2 key rails to make this one nail biter and much closer. 2 minutes to go and 2 frags separating these two. Oh no!
The trade comes in, but that frag earlier for the mega was so important for cypher to keep him in this game. Then 2 minutes left, 2 frags, definitely possible. Good tri-bolt from cha1n, but cypher's got to be on the hunt. He's going for the flank to see if he can catch him, but cha1n again keeping him back with the tri-bolt and the rockets just to make sure that makes life absolute hell for cypher here. And cypher's still got plenty of time, like I said, still got 90 seconds. cha1n left on 13 HP, needs to make a decision on how he wants to try and restack. Very risky there, going from top mid to mega, but it seemed to work out nicely for him. A nice unorthodox path to take as he's still available, still trying to keep away from cypher. Cypher still on his default stack, but it looks like cypher will be waiting to see if he can get that mega first before prioritizing any kind of engagements before he pushes on.
Yeah, this is like the opposite of plus back here at this point, right? I mean, certainly trying to play defensively, running away when necessary, but using that grapple for movement. A huge midair, but it's going to be the spit that cleans up cha1n, and suddenly we have a 1 frag game. Cypher very low. He needs to get back into fighting shape, and then he needs to go after cha1n. But right now, his objective is to just get that frag and force this into sudden death overtime as we hit that 30-minute mark. This could be tough for cypher because cha1n does have those grapples ready, and he's ready to fly. Ooh.
Oh, that wasn't the frag he wanted to give away. He's only got 20 seconds left. He hasn't got the weapons in his arsenal. It looks like cha1n may take this first map. It could have gone either way, maybe if he hit his rails on the staircase, but it's a very difficult angle to hit from. But cypher's just now trying to force out the situation, but just too little too late. As cha1n is the one who takes the first map against Cypher, which is a little bit unexpected, but from the way cha1n played, he played really, really well. Had a lot more of a passive approach. Always, you know, Cypher was always trying to force out the engagements any way he could, trying to like dictate the pace of the game. But cha1n was the one who was like, no, I'm going to play a passive style. I'm going to keep you back with the tribot and the rockets. And if you do approach me and attack me, you're going to take a huge amount of damage in the process, which he did do the entire time. But 45% rail against the 37% of Cypher. But so far, so good. cha1n is looking very, very good so far.
Yeah, I mean, really, that was as close to sort of cha1n being a boxer as you possibly could, right? Playing a little bit passive, being defensive, but then also opening up, letting out a flurry of blows, and then backing off a little bit. Really, really interesting to see that style of play. And I think that style of play is pretty hard, Lethal, right? Like, I mean, we saw it. There's a couple of moments where that one quick grapple where you kind of get hung up on the geometry of the map, or you know, you're a little bit high or a little bit low of where you want to be, and it can be a bad time, right? It could be easy shots, setups for your opponent. And although a couple of those did come out, cha1n, although yelling right there and saying come on, he kept his cool and played a great game with Athena and winning himself that first map, which I think will surprise many. But you shouldn't be surprised. Again, coming back to cha1n's performance in the stage finals, they have typically and historically been pretty good. So I would expect him to bring his A game, and well, so far he has.
He certainly has done indeed. Over nearly 1,000 damage more. That's how much more map presence cha1n did, but just his defensive style, just making sure that he didn't give Cypher room to, you know, force out any advantages which he might be able to take. He just did a really, really good job. And Cypher will be a little bit worried now. Like I said, the map picks are in his favor, but he's already lost his first map pick. So if he takes Vale, then it will give him a little bit of breathing room going into Ruins, because he knows that it's one of cha1n's weakest maps. So Cypher's got absolutely no reason to turn this into a reverse sweep. He just needs to be a little bit more careful when he forces out those engagements, because there's a few times where I kind of felt Cypher should have, you know, waited a little bit longer, or, you know, tried to not force out the situation too much, which is understandable. He just wanted to try and, you know, contest those items a bit more, you know, a bit heavier than he should have done. But that's the thing. Yeah. cha1n was always prepared and always ready for it. So this is the next question: like, how's it going to work on Vale? Because you can't force out the situation, you know, on Vale as much. It's a lot more choke points, a lot more narrow corridors. It's a bit more difficult. But we'll have to see anyway, because both these players are very good on this map. Even though for cha1n it is his map pick, Cypher is also very good at it. And I think cha1n needs to close this out 2-0 if he wants to try and take this series, because the last map on Ruins is going to be a doozy.
I agree, and I think the big complication here for cha1n is going to be the Galena on Cypher, right? This is a map where if you can slow things down a little bit and, you know, get that keep those totems up, then you can really start to shift things pretty heavily into your favor. So, you know, look for cha1n to be trying to deny that, but look for Cypher to possibly try to control the tempo with the totems in this matchup. So Vale is our next map, and cha1n could close this out 2-0. I think that would be a surprise to many, or we could see Cypher force that to a third map, and I kind of agree with you, Lethal. I think that that could be a good favor there for Cypher. We're in warm-up right now, and we are about ready to get started. We have more Quake all day long. We're jumping into the quarterfinals after this. And here we go, 3, 2, 1. Lethal, take us away.
Yeah, a little bit of an unexpected first map as cha1n took the first one, but will he be able to take the series? That's going to be another question which will be answered momentarily. We'll start on cha1n's POV to see what shenanigans he's going to be up to. We've already picked up the megas, already stacked up with the armor. Just waiting to see where Cypher could be. He definitely could have that height advantage if he wants to, but cha1n needs to make sure he stays on his toes to keep the totems in check. Cypher now just waiting patiently. He's tempted to go through that telly, but doesn't want to go through as of yet. But he delayed it enough to be able to make it through successfully. cha1n's taking a little bit of damage, but it looks like, oh, he's just trying to go for that mega, but wasn't able to. And Cypher's the one who's going to get that first frag on the board, and he's going to be looking for that spawn to see where cha1n could be, to see if he goes up on that jump pad on the rail, which he won't, as he went straight to top mid. So Cypher has the height advantage. has advantage in terms of weapons in his arsenal, and he's just going to go on for the flank to try and keep cha1n in a really uncomfortable position, which he has done. So very, very good start from cypher, and this is exactly what we need to see.
Yeah, and I mean, it's clear the opening minute of this game was much slower, allowed him to kind of build that fortress, and then in a good exchange, I think that was a straight up vertical rocket that actually took out cha1n, which was an interesting exchange, and now he really seems to have a solid grasp on this map. So far, with 1 minute and 30 seconds passed on the clock. Cypher up 3-0. He does miss that heavy, but dishes out a lot of damage as cha1n grasps for it. More totems coming out, and with Cypher picking up this mega and that light, he is ready to fight again. A great rail through the middle room, and another rocket to follow up. And cha1n might need to rethink his strategy here a little bit.
Yeah, it's night and day compared to the first map. Cypher's just all over him like anything right now, and Cypher's just keeping him at bay. And look at the item control already. Like, Cypher's already picked up 6 items in the last 2 minutes and just not giving cha1n any room to breathe, just suffocating him on spawn. Even though he's not doing too much damage on spawn, he knows it his exact location, and I think cha1n just feels really uncomfortable. He needs to try and slow it down if he can, but look at the confidence from Cypher, going to Rocket Room with the LG, cleaning up, only left on 44 HP, but that'll be fine. He's going to heal up from the totem, the light. The Mega's coming up in the next 17 seconds, but Heavy's coming up any second now. So how is Cypher going to do this? He's tempted to go for the Heavy, but looks like he's going to go for the frag anyway. And Cypher's just waiting patiently to see if he does get a peek with the rail, but cha1n is the one who retaliates with that rail. We'll get the Heavy. Mega's coming up in the next couple of seconds, but making the assumptions that Cypher will be going for that, which he has done. So good revenge from cha1n, but still 4 frags behind, but still very, very early days yet.
Yeah, agree. I mean, he definitely wants to be trying to close that gap. That was a little risky, that last one from Cypher, but it kind of cornered in a position, and cha1n knew that he had a wounded enemy. It was smart play by cha1n. Not much that Cypher could have done, but I do believe that to his advantage would be keeping as wide of a frag gap as it possibly can. I mean, Galena isn't necessarily known for being a good runaway defensive champ, but when you factor in the totems and the fact that if cha1n gets too far behind, he's got to pick up his speed, and those things don't always match. So cha1n really would have loved to see a conversion frag there, as obviously anyone would, but in this type of a matchup specifically, even more important. And as things have kind of settled down here a little bit, Lethal, we saw Heavy picked up there by Cypher, a contest over the Heavy there, but excuse me, the Mega there, but cha1n really won that one cleanly, and now Cypher looking pretty low on his stack.
It's not looking good at all. cha1n, good first rail from him, still manages to take him down even with the stack disadvantage. And Cypher now needs to be a little bit more cautious on his next move, as Heavy is still up. cha1n knows that. He's just trying to see if Cypher's going to peek through towards rockets, which he hasn't done. But Cypher is going to drop down. Good surprise attack from Cypher, but good rockets from cha1n again. Just very, very clean here with some of the frags he's getting. And Cypher was in a great spot earlier. He was eliminating all the possibilities and the options that cha1n could use in order to try and get up top with the totems and keeping an eye on the Heavy. But so far, these rockets from cha1n have just been ridiculous, just raining down, as he's going to try and prioritize the Heavy if he can. He now knows that it's a gentleman's agreement. He's going to let him go for the Mega as he goes for the Heavy. But so far, the rockets from cha1n have just been phenomenal once again. You know, it's not even for defensive purposes, just the damage he's doing, just overall. And again, it could be another frag for cha1n, but Cypher just managed to squeeze that one out. He's railable, but he will be picking up the Heavy hopefully in the next 10 seconds, depending on which path cha1n is going to take.
Yeah, in those close corner rocket battles, for the most part, Cypher's always come out on top. But cha1n's map awareness, when he's been, you know, when he's got, say, the vertical advantage, or he's just kind of slow rolling it around the map, that has been exceptional. I think he wants to try to probably avoid some of those matchups where he is kind of getting into close corners. Here is another one right here, as we do see the rail this time coming out from cha1n. He did have an orb, but decided not to use it there, as the last time that happened, that didn't work out too well for him. But 3 frags separating these two. The gap has closed, but the clock is also ticking away. 4 minutes left in this game. And still watching through Cypher's eyes as he does take a little bit more damage. And that is where cha1n's been really effective. Unfortunately, as the time ticks down, that's where you're not going to have those same levels of opportunities, because your opponent can kind of stay way out of there and run away and or put themselves in areas where you can't be making those shots. So cha1n very, very low, and Cypher is on the hunt. He knows that cha1n is streaming and leaving trails of blood all around the map. He's not going to be able to pick up a frag off of that, but he still takes away the time away on the clock, and that's just as important.
Yeah, Cypher's just been a real nuisance this last minute. Even though he's had a stack disadvantage, he's been railing up to no end with the chip damage, and he's been taking the same paths as hanging around that top tri-bolt, going for the telly, just keeping his back against the wall as much as possible so he can rail him whenever he sees fit. And when he gets the opportunity, he managed to get top mid control and top mega straight away. So cha1n is trying to think to himself, well, what other options do I have? You know, what can I do in order to try and come back from this? He's still got the totems, so he can at least do a little bit of damage as well as re-heal. And cha1n knows not to go through. So again, it's going to be at a height disadvantage, while Cypher just waiting for this next rotation of lights to come in. And he knows the heavy is up in the next 8 seconds. But what does cha1n do here as he tries to push through? Takes a little bit of damage, but some good damage over the second rocket from Cypher. As cha1n now needs to try and get out of it if he can. Does try to contest the heavy a little bit, but Cypher managed to time that well. As cha1n needs to try and get away and try and get another light to his name in order to take this next fight. But so far so good. Cypher realizes cha1n's strengths in terms of like his close range combat. He knows that his rockets have been phenomenal, so he's thinking, well, you know, I won't bother with that. You know, I'll just keep the height advantage. I'll make sure I keep my distance so that I'll play to my strengths and his weaknesses.
Yeah, and honestly, I think Cypher will want to do that at this point in the game all day long, right? I mean, just staying on the top level and looking down at your opponent, knowing that they're down there, they don't really have a direct line of attack, and that is just time spent, right, by cha1n, and Cypher's fine with that. Every second that ticks away will be to his advantage with this 3 frag lead, and he is looking like he is going to seal the deal here on map 2, and not too surprising. I mean, cha1n gave it his best. He did have a couple moments or a couple of missed orbs that put him in a rough situation, but Cypher really locked this one down, made cha1n play the way that that Cypher wanted him to play, and it certainly looks like it has worked out, as we see now the 8th frag come in for Cypher as the 1-minute warning sounds.
I love what Cypher's been doing the last few minutes as well, you know, just keeping those totems up, choosing the same paths every single time, so that when he does take a fight or an engagement, he'll just put another totem down, he'll restack, go in for the fight just to make sure he gets that overstack later on if things don't go in his favour. He's played it very strategically, very well, always had a positional advantage no matter where he was for at least 6 or 7 minutes into this game, and cha1n must have just felt uncomfortable throughout the entire process. But you're right, though, it looks like he will be possibly taking his second map. Still 25 seconds left, but you know, it's the dying moments now. Cypher will have to really do something, you know, beyond anyone's comprehension. But cha1n with that first rail, if he gets his rocket out, there could be a chance here for him. That's the second rail. Still has 10 seconds left. He needs to try and find him on spawn and dictate the pace. But Cypher's already dropped down. This is his moment. He's only on 46 HP, but will he be able to clean him up? He's doing his absolute best, but no way. Cypher has already got the stack. Had the totem up there, things got a little bit out of hand, but dearie me, that was closer than what I could think.
Yes, maybe relaxing a little bit early there. You saw that the middle portion of that matchup where certainly Cypher's confidence was building, and he's like, I've got control. But cha1n, right, kept on top of it, knew he still had a chance. I'm actually shocked that he brought it all the way back to 7 to 8. Because a much wider gap existed there. And then, you know, you saw those 3 frags in a row and a few more seconds squeezed out there, and that could have potentially been a sudden death situation. But we're now tied 1 map apiece and going on to Ruins. cha1n is going to be on the Anarchy, and Cypher is going to be on the Strogg. Lethal, talk to me a little bit about what you think might transpire given the champions that we have and what you've seen so far.
It's very difficult to say what we're going to see because, you know, they've been each other on each other's map picks. I've always said that, you know, both these players, it's not their best maps, but for cha1n, I feel like he's a lot weaker in comparison from what I've seen in the Americas region throughout the entire course of Stage 2. It's just a matter of what Cypher can bring to the table, because we know it's not his strongest, but what can he do differently compared to what other players have done against cha1n and Ruins. And as you can see, we're looking at 25 lights, but 24 items. This is the thing, like Cypher, throughout these two maps, even though, you know, he lost that first map, he's always had positional advantage no matter what situation he's in. When he's at a disadvantage in terms of stack, he always manages to get the chip damage done and out of the way to keep cha1n away from him. When he's got the stack, he's always makes sure that, you know, he's always got height advantage. He's always got the angle in case cha1n goes from, you know, left, right, or depending on what the path he takes. So cha1n, I feel like, is being read quite well. It's just Cypher, I feel like he could have had a lot more frags to his name, but sadly cha1n has got away in those moments. But for Ruins, it's going to be a lot more difficult in terms of, you know, what is cha1n going to do if Cypher has, you know, positional advantage on this map. It's going to be very, very difficult. But if Cypher gets an early lead with the Strog, then he's going to feel a lot more comfortable in comparison. It just depends what cha1n plan is with the Anarchy.
And items were huge in that second map. I mean, you saw actually cha1n out damaging Cypher by quite a bit, but if you're not able to capitalize on those items, like, all you're doing is clawing away at your opponent's advantage. So a few more items there could have possibly changed things up a little bit, but got to reset going on to game 3. It's going to be on Ruins. Completely agree with what you said. I'd expect cha1n to really try to use speed to gain an advantage here. But I also think that Cypher will look to play, you know, a rail-heavy game, finding those opportunities, those windows that are open, crawling through, stealing away the pie, and trying to steal the game away overall. But regardless, we're going to come out of this one as a 2-1. And remember, the winner of this matchup will go on to face Razy in quarterfinal number 4. So one hill climbed, another one after that, Lethal, as we load into Ruins and get ready for this matchup.
Yeah, it's like I said before, for both these players, you know, they're not comfortable on Ruins, but cha1n is probably more uncomfortable in comparison because it has been one of his weak maps for the entire course of Stage 2. It is a very rail-heavy meta on this map, but it depends on how these two players are feeling so far. You know, cha1n has been looking very, very strong throughout the entire course of the finals, kind of looking like his old self, you could say. You could tell he's definitely put the hours in leading into this, but Cypher does have the edge. It just depends on what he's going to do with that edge. What's he going to do with that advantage? As we do head into map 3, it's 1-1 between both of these players as we head into the last and final map of the series, as we start from cha1n's POV to see exactly what he's going to be up to.
Yep, cha1n off the spawn is going to get himself a light, and he's just trying to grab his arsenal of weapons. Has a rocket launcher, a rail, and a lightning gun now, and well, he's looking for the first battle here, waiting just below the Mega. Misses that rail, but those types of shots are going to be key in this matchup. We got a little slow roll around the corners. Nice hit by cha1n. We do see Peeker come out, LG down, and cha1n actually loses a little bit of his advantage, but did pop that first inject. And now both major items are up, and we are definitely going to have a healthy split here between the two. cha1n, unaware of this, did have the opportunity to maybe grab that Mega, but didn't happen. As 1 minute in, we're tied 0-0, so we certainly have slowed down the tempo a bit here.
Yeah, you're right, that the items are already segregated so much so early on in this game, but Cypher's rail against his Anarchy has been so good, considering the speed and the pace that cha1n is playing at so far. And you're right, you know, with the items being segregated that much, you know, it gives Cypher plenty of time to, you know, not only go for the heavy, but just barely be able to contest the Mega straight afterwards. So still got plenty of time, as now cha1n is, sadly for him, stuck in the courtyard, and this is like one of the worst positions to be on Ruins. And Cypher's going to try and capitalize on that if he can. Oh, cha1n just barely on 50 to 75 HP. Cypher is going to leave him for now and just prioritize that heavy and then go for the Mega straight afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, those rails are huge, right? Forcing cha1n into a spot where he really only had a few escape routes, but more importantly, way out of reach of any of the major items. And once again, grabs both of them. Just to put into perspective, cha1n with only a single mega, that was the one off the spawn, and every other major item has been picked up by Cypher through the first 2 minutes of this matchup. So that's where cha1n needs to focus his attention. What is he going to try to do to disrupt that control that Cypher has? Now heading down to the lower levels, the mega is up, and I'm not quite sure that cha1n has any idea what the timings on the major items are, as we have a huge discrepancy between the two spawn times. And now waiting down below for that heavy. Unfortunately, no stack, cannot fight. It would not be wise, and does choose to go ahead and run away. Cypher on the board with his first frag as we hit the 3-minute mark, and he is looking to control this game as much as he can. And cha1n just looking to knock down that wall, Ethel.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, literally, you saw there, yeah. cha1n probably didn't know the timing, but because he was down in heavy, he has heard when mega's coming up next as well as the heavy. But look at the stack of Cypher. I think you saw there, cha1n was hoping that maybe he's going to go through the telly or maybe go up to light towards Tribal, but instead, you saw Cypher just stood his ground. It's like, that's fine. You know, there is a possibility you may just come straight down and, you know, as he try and fool me, but no, he wasn't fooled at all. Look at the rails from Cypher. Wow. 2 for 2 against the champions such as Anarchy. It's just absolutely phenomenal, and I feel like cha1n just has no room to breathe, no options to even do anything at this moment in time, and Cypher's just playing absolutely out of his mind. He's been getting better and better as the series has progressed. Again, another heavy to his name. And look at that though, cha1n has only picked up one item, in the last 4 minutes.
Yeah, that's gotta feel a little bad too, and there's just not much that cha1n can do. He's not coming to the table with a stack ever, and that means that Cypher always has the advantage in these battles. If he's hitting these long or mid-range rails as well, it's just Anarchy's having a bad time. There's another one, armor stack, goodbye. It's no longer there, and picking up that heavy. It also leaves this interesting scenario, Lethal, where if Cypher's picking up all the items, he knows his opponent is thirsting for those lights or some sort of stack. And so he can kind of prioritize his setups to be ready for that. And once again, complete denial of all major items outside of that initial spawn. And that is really impressive to see.
And it's the problem for cha1n as well, you know, if cha1n goes for the light in courtyard at the wrong time, that's it, he's done, he's stuffed. Yep. He's absolutely trapped. But if he goes for the other one, it's so open, but Cypher could be ready and waiting for him. I just feel like cha1n's just not given any room to try and make something happen here, and Cypher's just playing so well. This is one of the best matches I've seen from Cypher on this map. It's looking very, very good. It's still, the stack is just beyond comprehension here. Cypher's just doing his absolute best to, you know, keep on his toes, keep cha1n feeling like there's no way of a comeback. But you got to remember, even though Cypher's done all this work towards cha1n, he's only up 3-0, possibly 4 if he pushes in or forces out this next engagement. But cha1n has been doing a good job, just trying to keep him away, and he's going to see if he can go for a flank. But Cypher's been playing all these mind games and using all these paths to try and get hold of him and try and strangle him if he can, but he has finally been able to whittle him down. He has lost that first mega in a very long time, but the damage has already been done. He's got 4 minutes left, already picked up another heavy. It's 4-0, and it's looking very bleak for cha1n as I'm just looking at the rails. 68% against an Anarchy for Cypher, and cha1n, it's been over 6 minutes and he still hasn't picked up a single heavy yet.
Yeah, I mean, that's a little scary too. It's like, what is 1 mega when you have complete control? You don't need to force out those frags, because you continue on with this control and it's going to be pretty easy to keep that score line as wide as it is right now. We're about to hit 3 minutes remaining in this matchup. And, you know, I think Cypher could very easily plus back. He's going to surprise his opponent, and drops down with the peeker coming out. Again, cha1n not taking that much damage. He at least left that engagement with some armor, which is a far cry from what has been happening through most of this game. Actually, a huge rocket. His opponent comes barreling down, goes back up the jump pad, takes more rocket damage, and there is just no way he is going to contest that. Again, he gets another mega, but 13 heavies and 10 megas for Cypher. That is where this game dominance has come from. LG coming out from cha1n, probably the first big initial battle that we've seen happen so far. Is he going to be able to follow up? He hits a nice rail. We would love to get that first frag on the board because he needs it if he wants to mount a comeback. But Cypher in and out finally gets hung up there on that jump pad coming down, and cha1n scores his first frag of the game.
It's taken a while, but this is cha1n's chance to try and come back from this. There's only 3 frags behind. And the problem is, it depends on what path he wants to take in order to try and trap Cypher. What is Cypher going to do here? Is he going to try and back away and maybe, you know, try and let the clock run out? And it's understandable with 2 minutes left and 3 frags to go. And it looks like he is trying to do that. Seems like his plan is to try and sit back on that heavy jump pad and on the staircase. And if he needs to get away, he can, you know. He has better speed than cha1n in terms of his champion pick and what he wants to do. And cha1n's got full control of the items. Cypher can try and contest if he wants to, but he hasn't got any armor. And you can see he hasn't gone for the lights because, like I said earlier, if he goes for the light and he gets caught off guard in courtyards, he's done for, he's stuffed. And if he goes to the other one, it's way too open. But now there's 90 seconds left. And cha1n does have that ability in his back pocket with the inject, but what's he going to do here? Time is running out and he needs to try and find him.
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with Cypher like slowing things down, but I still think he needs an arsenal. He needs to have those weapons in case he does have to fight, and so far that has not necessarily been the case. He's still without a rail right now. He's relying on rockets and some LG, and, you know, getting caught in situations like this. Boom, LG converted to a rail shot. Almost went down. He's going to take this one slowly, use those sound cues as much as possible. Oh no, he decided to go back for the heavy, and it does not fare well for him. And Cypher, who had such a constricting strangle on this map early on, is now possibly looking at potentially seeing this tied up. And it does happen. cha1n pushing Cypher into the back corner and then coming out with the frag on top. Now, Cypher does have a little bit more armor stack. cha1n didn't come out of that fight as clean as he did in other matches. The LG gets put on, and with 20 seconds left to go, we might go to sudden death.
Oh, cha1n predicted that and read it so well. 10 seconds left between both these players. Final map, and it looks like we'll be going to sudden death. Things just escalated so quickly in the last 60 seconds. But cha1n was very lucky to choose the correct path of where Cypher's going to take, but both players are going to try and rail each other if he can. Both are missing, stumbling just a tiny bit, but cha1n's managed to hit the first one. Cypher is railable. He can't afford to take any more damage, and he's just waiting patiently. They're both railable, and Cypher is the one who manages to take it, the final map and the series. And what a way to win that. And you saw in chat from cha1n how much that meant to him. Cypher was railable.